Welcome, everybody, to Generation Viewpoint. I'm Evan, and this is my dad, Freedom.
Hello, everybody.
How you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic.
That's great.
Yeah. So today we are going to have a first. We get to have a lot of firsts on our episodes since we're still under 100. I wonder if after you go over 100 episodes, if you still have firsts.
Maybe. I think you probably do.
They probably be more and more unique as you go.
Probably,
right?
Yeah.
But today's first is the first time that we have a guest on the show that's one of my siblings. Scary. I hope nothing comes out in the laundry. So for everybody who's listening right now, I want to introduce to you my brother, Nigel Braun. Hey, Nige, how you doing, man?
Good. I'm doing great.
Awesome. We are cranked up excited to have you as my first sibling and Evan's first aunt or uncle on the podcast with us. So this is going to be really cool. So
yeah.
But before we get into just talking about random things that we always talk about, Nige, for everybody who's listening that doesn't maybe know you, can you give a brief synopsis of the things that you have done, maybe like a work history? You know what I mean? Because you've done a lot of different things and a variety of different stuff. So a quick synopsis of high school to now. What are the crazy things that you've worked at and learned and done for careers and things like that?
Okay, well, yeah, I guess that's what people like to define themselves by is their work history. So it's a great starting point.
Yeah.
So in high school, I was what they would call pretty athletic. Did a lot of sports. Decided in high school that college might not be for me, so I went into the United States Navy right out of high school.
Now, people in the Navy, what do they say? Like, they don't say hoo-ah. What do they say in the Navy?
They say hoorah.
Hoorah. All right, hoorah.
Right.
All right.
Right.
Good.
They're excited about it.
Okay.
Know? And they can speak proper English. So
okay. Awesome.
Like a double whammy.
I love it.
Yeah, so hoorah for the Navy.
Yeah.
The Navy was quite an adventure. I got to live in Sicily for 2 years.
Yeah.
I got to live in Kuwait for a year, actually on the border of Kuwait and Iraq.
Wow. And
so that was a great adventure in the middle of a desert.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you get to have interesting experiences, like meeting the president. So I met with George Bush 3 times.
Very cool.
As the Secret Service liaison, the military Secret Service liaison.
I never knew that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, so I planned some of the routes from Philadelphia. Actually, it was Willow Grove Joint Reserve Base to Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where I currently reside, and planned those routes with the local municipality.
Yep.
And to get him back and forth safely.
That's amazing. So
that's pretty cool.
Ev, you know what I just heard?
What?
I just heard that basically I've hung out with Nigel. Nigel's hung out the president. So I basically know the president really, like we're good buds.
Well, if you think back, you also took a creepy picture from your work of the president at Manning's right across the street.
I did. I still have that picture, actually, of George Bush at the ice cream shop across the street from my work.
So you know him from 2 different roots.
Yeah. We go way back, Nige. I think I might know him a little bit more than you do. I don't know.
Yeah, see, that was not the day that I was watching the route because you wouldn't have gotten that picture.
I would have got. You know what's funny is I was in a second story of all windows in our office building overlooking the whole motorcade, and not once did anybody look up at all the windows where we were at our work. Like, not once. I was thinking that when I was watching it, and I had my binoculars and my camera, and I'm like, nobody has said anything to me right now. Like, nothing, you know? It was kind of crazy, but... Well, that's awesome. I mean, and so after being in Lancaster, and what are you doing nowadays? What career have you decided to embark on?
So now I went back to school for occupational safety and environmental health. It's an engineering degree, really for environmental health and safety, and I work in an industrial environment for a company called Alcoa.
Yep.
They make aluminum. And so I work at that company, approximately 900 employees at the site that I work at.
Nice.
And I'm responsible for all the environmental health and safety aspects to keep people safe and the environment clean.
Very cool. I like to get for everybody to get to hear kind of guest backgrounds, only not because I think that what we do for work defines us, although it has a great impact, but I think it definitely, sometimes when you hear people's answers and opinions, when you know where they've worked, you kind of pick up on, oh, wait a minute, that's why they think that way. Does that make sense? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
And you got married recently.
Yes, September 13th. 2015.
He still remembers.
I know.
Applause.
That's clapping. So I want to ask you a marriage question, a husband-wife question, okay? And you tell me if hypothetically, because I don't know if this has ever happened ever, but hypothetically, has this ever happened, okay?
Okay.
You're sitting in your house. Your wife is on the cell phone talking to somebody, right? And her conversation is winding down. And she looks over at you, and she doesn't put her hand over the microphone, and she looks at you while the cell phone is to her head, and she says, "Would you like to talk to this person?"
Oh, no.
Has that ever happened to you yet?
Not yet, because, I'm not going to mention any names who could be on the other end of that line, but I usually give the wave off hand signal
Yes.
way ahead of time, like I'm not here.
Yeah. Well, see, you've got the preemptive strike down, and that's why, see, like I said, your answers, you had some time in the service, so you know how to jump to the chase.
Right.
Because it's the worst, because you're sitting there, and they've just asked that question out loud, Ev, and what are you going to say? No, I don't want to talk to the person who can hear me right now, right? You can't even say anything, right?
Right.
Not that I've ever experienced it. That's total hypothetical.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Right.
So Nigel, pets. I want to touch on pets for a moment, okay? You've had many pets in your day, right?
Yeah, I love dogs.
You love dogs. You're a huge dog guy. You've got highly trained hunting dogs. You've had all kinds of interesting dogs. And I just want to bring up a story, because one of my favorite stories that you tell, and Evan has never heard this story, and I want you to tell this story because it's amazing. So while you were in Kuwait, correct?
Yeah.
While you were in Kuwait, you had an interesting pet. What was your pet while you were in the middle of the desert, away from everybody? What was your pet?
Well, let me just describe what the middle of the desert looks like.
Okay. All right.
There's no buildings.
Yeah.
There's no electricity that comes in on wires.
Uh-huh.
It is sand for as far as the eye can see.
Yeah.
And like 50 tents in the middle of a desert.
That pretty much matches up to the definition I had in my mind as well. So we're on the same page on that one. Okay.
Right.
Good.
So that's what the middle of the desert looks like.
Yep.
So I'm coming back from the tent chow hall.
Uh-huh.
And I see my future pet running across the desert.
And what was it, the desert fox?
No, it was not a desert fox.
Okay. What was it?
It was the desert chicken.
A chicken?
He seriously had a chicken for a pet.
Yeah.
I was expecting like an iguana or something, like not a chicken.
Yeah.
I love it. So,
Freddy the chicken.
So you caught this chicken and you built the little pen and everything, and you kept the chicken in the pen, right?
In a Foot Locker, yep.
Okay. So I just want you to go on with the story a little bit, because there's a part of you having this pet that just kills me, that has to do with a clothes hanger. Am I remembering correctly?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So your chicken escapes one day, right?
Yeah. So me and this chicken, we had a great bonding relationship. Cared very deeply about this chicken.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when I came back from our little mission that we had to go and run, came back and the Foot Locker was open.
Yeah.
And the chicken had escaped. So I'm peeking in and out of these tents, going between the aisles, between the tents, looking for this chicken.
Yep.
And I see Freddy the chicken.
Wait, his name was Freddy. Okay.
Yeah, Freddy was his name.
Okay.
Freddy's been a common name for a lot of my pets.
You're not supposed to name your food.
This was my pet.
I'm going to start naming my burritos from Taco Bell. Man, this is Bob the burrito. All right. So the Freddy is loose.
Yeah, Freddy's loose. I find him. now I have to catch him again to get him back to his pen safely. So I was using the old T-shirt method. So I had my uniform on, full uniform, M16 hanging off the side, helmet on
and everything. Okay.
He was going to war with this chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm running after this chicken, and I took off my top. They call it like the blouse, that camouflage, and I'm trying to throw this blouse over top of that chicken so that I could catch him.
Yeah.
And so I'm running around this tent. And who do I run into? None other than a 3-star general.
That's so awesome. So you come blazing around the corner of a tent, and you're chasing a chicken, and all of a sudden there's a general in front of it. But you're looking down. Did you know it was a general, or all you saw was boots?
No, like I came around the corner, and there was someone there, and I looked up, and I just saw these bright, shiny stars hanging off the lapel of his jacket.
Yep.
And I was like, this is it. I'm done.
And what happened?
So the general kindly asked me, what the hell are you doing?
That was pretty kind, yes.
And this is not a time to lie.
Yeah.
This is a time to be honest. I said, well, my chicken escaped. And I'm trying to catch my chicken.
Yeah.
So he says, okay. He says, do you have a metal coat hanger?
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, that's a strange question. I really hope I'm not going to get spanked.
Yeah.
Yes, I do have a metal coat hanger. So he said, go get it. So I run back to my tent, get him this metal coat hanger, expecting the worst. And he's sitting there and undoes like the top twist of the hanger.
Yeah.
And now he straightened out the hanger, and he puts a little loop at one end of the hanger.
Uh-huh.
And he says, this is how you catch a chicken. You
No.
run up to it, and you scoop its legs with that hook, and you can get the chicken.
He totally taught you how to catch the chicken that you thought you were about to get in trouble for having.
Right.
Dude, that's amazing.
Oh, my word.
So I was like, oh, this is awesome. Okay. I was like, thank you, sir. And I was ready to part ways. And he wasn't ready to part ways.
Okay.
Because he wanted to make sure that his instructional guides really worked.
No
So
way.
he says, go catch the chicken. And stood there and watched me run around with this hanger, and finally I caught the chicken.
I'm picturing the old Rocky movie with Rocky in the little courtyard chasing the chicken.
Yeah.
And Coach is standing there watching him. Come on, you. Come on. Right? Oh, man. I love that story. It's so amazing.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
So. Well, so speaking of military and time, I mean, that's a lighter side of service and protecting our country. I want to ask a question that's got a little meat on it that's been happening this year, okay? And the question that I want to ask, and Evan, I want your input too, as well as Nigel's, is what do you think is more important, personal privacy or national security? So this came up a while ago with the Apple phone, where they were taking the FBI was taking Apple to court because they wanted them to break into the phone and get them information off of it and things like that and whatever. So that's what is stuck in my brain, and people are still talking about it. So I guess first, let's ask Evan first. Which is more important, your personal privacy or national security?
I would probably say security, just because I don't have like anything to hide.
Okay. So do you think it's okay for the government to be able to go into anything that's yours unprompted whenever they want to, and just to keep us safe?
Not necessarily that far.
Oh,
but
okay.
I do think, like, if they have probable cause,
okay,
then I think they should be able to.
Okay. All right, Nigel, what's your opinion on that?
Well, I would have to differ. I think I'm probably the opposite. Is I would think that my personal privacy is more important.
Okay.
And I think the reason that I say that is because of the other things that come into play once you give up your personal freedom, per se, right?
Yep.
is that you're giving up a portion of your freedom to the government. They're allowed to access whatever's private to you.
Right.
And it's for their reasonable suspicion or just cause, right? So where does that line get drawn?
Okay.
And then what's next? And I think that looking historically, is that we're kind of a country that's based off of our personal freedoms.
Right. Okay.
Right. That's what our foundation is in.
Yep.
And so I think that holds a little bit of weight.
Yep.
As far as my opinion.
I think it's easy to answer that way, and I'm not going to say it's wrong or right, because I believe in personal privacy, of course, and freedom. They go hand in hand, and it's easy when we're looking at ourselves. So just like how Evan had answered that question, I don't have anything to hide, so I'm fine with that. But when we want our freedom and we want our privacy, it's fine for us because we know we're not harming anybody. But it gets tricky to answer the question when you know that there's somebody out there who might be part of a terrorist cell, and there might be information stored on their cell phone, and then you're like, no, they shouldn't have personal privacy. We shouldn't have access to everything. And that's right. That's where it gets tricky, right, Nigel?
Yeah, absolutely. Because when you answer that question, you have to know what's on the other end.
Yes.
So I answered that question in the way that I think, personal freedom is more important.
Right.
That means that I'm willing to have a terrorist as my next door neighbor and not being able to do anything about it, or the government not being able to do anything about it.
Wow. Yeah.
The whole time he might be planning an attack, or, and so that's the weight of it, right? That's how important you have to think that is.
Years ago, this is sort of the same thing, but not as extreme. But there's something that I learned from our grandfather, Nigel, and from your great-grandfather, O'Keefe. And one day at that time when I was a teenager, it was big in the news that people were burning the flag. Protesters were burning the flag. And as a teenager, all I knew was what I heard. So I was upset about it, and I was over at Grandpa's house. And I was like, I can't believe that people are burning the flag. And I think that I am reacting in an appropriate way, and that I'm being honorable towards my grandfather and his service in World War II, right? They shouldn't be burning the flag. This is ridiculous. They shouldn't be allowed to do that. If they don't like this country, they should go out. This is the things that were coming out of my mouth as a teenager, right? Because everything was black and white. I only knew what I heard. And my grandfather, a World War II vet from Bastogne, 101 Airborne, saw the worst of it. He said, "What are you talking about?" He says, "My friends died to preserve the freedom so that people who want to burn the flag can burn the flag." He didn't agree with it, but it was their freedom, and that he saw was the most important thing. And we're kind of talking about that right now, right? That the freedom, having personal freedom, is really what we're all about. You said that real very simply, Nigel, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I learned that from Grandpa a long time ago. I love that story. I think of it quite often. I think that might have been the first time I ever told you about that, Ev.
Yeah.
But it was just real words of wisdom, So, anyways, all right, that was great, man. That was really, really deep, and we are quickly running out of time. Nigel.
Yes.
I just want you to tell us about your axe.
Oh, my axe.
So, Evan, backstory. The other day, I'm on the phone, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, I'm polishing my axe." And I'm like, "You're what?" And he says, "Yeah." And I'm like, I never heard anybody polish an axe before. So please tell us about your axe and why on earth you would spend the time to polish an axe.
So I live in a development, brand new development, and it's very close to downtown. So there's not a whole lot of woods, but there's a little stretch of woods in the back with a couple of trees. And so I decided that I want to make a walking trail.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to alert the neighbors that I was making this walking trail because it's, not necessarily my property.
Right.
So I figured an axe would be...
The silent trespasser.
Right.
Yeah.
The silent option.
Right.
And so I researched these axes, and I found the best axe, 28-inch axe, and it was $105.
What kind of axe? What's the name of this axe?
This axe is a Helco work axe.
Helco?
Helkowerk.
Wow. And this thing
I presume that's the German spelling.
Okay. All right. I'm just fascinated because me, we need an axe. You go down to Home Depot or whatever, and you just get an axe and you go whack away. And when it breaks, you throw it away and you get another one.
Right.
So, all right. So this is a very special axe that you have there. All right. I just want to touch on that because it was the funniest thing that I heard the other day. And I was like, man alive, he's polishing his axe. And that's just crazy to me. So, but very cool, man.
Yeah. So now I have this axe. I gave it a little paint job. I named it the Fox. Painted a little fox on it.
He names everything.
This thing is
like
very
Bryce.
detailed.
I love it, man. Oh, that's
and
so
I
cool.
really had to bargain for this because now that I'm a newlywed, I have to run all expenses through our CFO.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And she says, "Why do you need an axe?" I said, "What do you mean? Why do I need one?
Yeah.
I just need one. I need to do this."
Yeah.
And so she said, "Well, if you get this axe now, then you're not going to be able to get it for your birthday present." And that was going to be your birthday present. And I said, "Well, who doesn't like an early birthday present?"
There you go. I love it, man. Always a salesman. Perfect.
Right.
See, people who don't go into sales think that they're not salesmen, but as soon as they get in a relationship, they figure out real quick that you got to be a salesman.
Right.
Right? So
You have to have a pitch.
that's right. Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, we are officially out of time, and we've got to wrap this thing up. Nigel, I'm so glad that you joined us today. Evan, wasn't he awesome?
Yeah.
He's so much fun. So I really hope.
Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, please, man. I can't wait to have you on again, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is fantastic. So, but thanks for taking time out of your day and joining us here, and hopefully be able to get to do this again. So there's so much more that I want to talk to you about, that's so much fun. So thanks again, man.
Sounds good, guys.
All right. And for everybody out there, thanks for being here again with us for another episode. And we really look forward to being with you again soon. All right. See you guys later.
See ya.
Remember, we're on iTunes and Stitcher, and as always, thanks for being awesome.